Uh, Thank you, Dr. Kiran. Um, Now, this first session after the tea break, so I hope some tea break has been taken by all, and we are ready for this session. So, this is we are going to talk about the finalization of training calendar. So we have taken the needs of NIRDPR as well as the network of institution of SIRDPRs also. So as DG sir mentioned that through our network of SIRDPR, what we are planning that our training program will able to reach at the state and maximum to the district level. So after that, we hope that SIRD will carry along with our training needs. And we are formulating our training program for 2022-23 after TNA. So we have done a TNA workshop for SIRDs also. They must do their training need analysis at their end and come out what are the meaningful training programs, and they will collaborate with our individual centers. So uh, first, we came out with a circular on 16 November 2021 for submission of holistic proposals of program covering training programs, seminars, conferences, workshop, etc. So here we send the letter to all the concerned ministry, MORD, MOPR, JJM, DOLR, and then to all the SIRDs to know their training needs. And so some of the SIRD wrote to us. Similarly, MOPR has given their training needs, and MORD also wrote to us. So we incorporated the training needs of the ministries as well as SIRD in finalizing our training program, and then we have realigned our training needs as per the vision and mission of each center, and as per the need of the various social sector programs, RD programs, Panchayati Raj program, similarly drinking water and land resources training program, and we have incorporated the same in our annual training calendar. So next slide, please. In the second stage, the training requirements received from program division of MORD, MOPR, and Jal Shakti have been added by the concerned center and finalized the proposal. Center-wise training proposals were reviewed by the school heads. Then it was reviewed by DDG and DG, and DG sir gave very meaningful themes for each center. So as earlier presented by DG, some of the centers are directly corresponding one-to-one with the program division. Say CPR for MOPR, CWEL for Manrega division, and we are having CRI, Center for Rural Infrastructure, which corresponds with Ruruban. Similarly, we have CAT, which corresponds with PMAYG. Then we have a Center for Social Audit, which looks after the need of the social audit programs. Then we have NRLM RC and DDU GKY, which correspond with the individual programs. So we have incorporated the suggestion accordingly. So the fourth stage review was made by DG and given several directions. So after this, we have amended the training program, seeing the capacity of the centers also. So we have a certain capacity, so many things are to be done. So we are in the process of changing. I hope the faculties here will adhere and make the meaningful training program through wider consultation with SIRDs and all the stakeholders, and they will able to design their new training programs meaningfully in line with the RD programs. So next slide, please. The major focus of the review of the training program of each center was on their center's training proposal and suggested to focus on the following aspects. Meeting the requirements of flagship programs of Government of India, then national priorities, research findings, and then training need analysis findings. So now NIRDPR is in a state of flux that ministry has said 10% curtailment progressively. So we need to raise resources also from the training program. So we have kept internal target of 15% additional revenue generation from each center. So seeing these themes, the need of extra funding by the NIRDPR, our training programs should be accordingly should be aligned, and we should try to raise resources through these training programs so that it will add value also to our training program. So what we have said, that in addition to the faculty cost, 10% institutional charge shall be levied for all programs. 15% cost recovery shall be done for all the programs. For the programs demanded by state, 25% cost recovery to be done. So we are still in a process of finalization. So we will see whether the states are able to pay or not. Then we will, as these SIRDs are for the states, for UTs we are the SIRDs. So we need to take the training needs of union territories also, and respective center must write in relation to their training programs what we have decided so far to the UTs, if they have, and CRTCN will also help in that, what are the training needs of UTs, and then accordingly, if there is a divergent need, each center is requested to incorporate in their needs in their training programs. So then further we did the center-wise review. So next slide, please. Like we have the main centers we have. One is CSR PPP. This is a new center which has come up at Delhi. Delhi being a central place, so we hope that CSR will able to do many meaningful training programs which will add to the revenue to the NIRDPR. So for Center for Corporate Social Responsibility, we call it, and public-private partnership and policy advocacy. So a conclave on CSR for sustainable rural development with all corporates, public sector entities may be organized. Then convergence of CSR with civil service organization may be looked into, and NIRDPR may act as intermediary in channelizing CSR funds to the civil service organizations. Then consultative workshop may also be organized in this regard. Building capacity of panchayats on operational maintenance of assets created under WASH sector effectively may be prepared. So as we are under the able guidance of DG sir, what we thought that if there is any new training program with the center, so maybe they might be they will face difficulty in designing the training program, new training program, so they can move through a workshop mode to validate the training needs of the country and the various stakeholders, and then they can formulate their training programs accordingly. Next center, please. CHRD. So CHRD is another center which does not correspond to any particular rural development program or Panchayati Raj program. So it generally deals with human resource development, cutting across all the 4 ministries and RD programs. So some of the they have their clear vision and mission and mandate of the center. So taking the cue from that, what we have identified some of the training programs is that a strategy for menstruational health in improving rural health care shall be looked into. Rural health care is one of the area in which we need to work. So Ayushman Bharat integration with SHG shall be looked into by the center. Then consultative workshop on providing the telemedicine facilities to the rural area shall be taken up. Then 5 consultative workshops, 1 national and 4 regional workshops shall be conducted on linking SHG with Ayushman Bharat. A workshop on innovative practices in rural healthcare delivery with state representative may be conducted in collaboration with SIPS, ASCII. A working paper on how health system dealt with COVID in rural area may be prepared. So this we haven't studied the impact of COVID in the rural area. So there is a need to for institution like us, NIRDPR with network of SIRDs. We need to study what are the effects of COVID in the rural area. So we are in the best position to do it. So same thing can't be thought to be done by the ministry and the Department of the Rural Development in the state, because they are involved in day-to-day operational work. So we are in the best place to see what are the impacts. So we hope that we will able to do it and come out with meaningful recommendations, and then we may submit to the individual ministry and same to MORD, and the same request is from SIRD that they should also do at their level so that they can flag the issues to their department. Next slide, please. CPR corresponds to MOPR. So this is a very large area. So I have only mentioned few points. As Additional Secretary Sir has given a brief of the expectation of MOPR from institution like us, and then the network of SIRDs. So we will be taking further, we will be studying his presentation and incorporating in our training programs. So in the meantime, what we have identified is rural area development plan formulation and implementation should be improved. One training program for each center of excellence. So we are hoping that this CPR will become a mother center for all the line requirements of Panchayati Raj, be it health, education, infrastructure development, soft skill, employment requirement. So we are considering it as a hub of all the activities of MOPR, the training need and capacity building of panchayats. So we know that it is a Herculean task, but as the institute, we will try to endeavor to achieve this. So one training program for each center of excellence covering various themes such as panchayat governance, social harmony, information technology in panchayat, finance and accounts shall be conducted to capacitate the state panchayat departments. As a part of finance, training programs on OSR may be conducted. The training shall be conducted at state level, capacitating state level functionaries. Then the next one is integration of agriculture plan with GPDP may also be taken up. So as we said that GPDP has been made, but probably only 4% implementation is done on those 96% panchayats have done the GPDP, but the data says that 4% has been only implemented. So one is to make the GPDP meaningful. So integration of agriculture plan with GPDP may also be taken up. Citizen charter we have come out with the help of MOPR. So now this citizen charter work shall be taken forward and pilot workshops shall be conducted. Then programs in the areas of contract management of WASH services, GPDP based ranking, then HR report of Sumit Bose committee shall be looked into, then skilling at Panchayati Raj institutions, like there is a demand from the last colloquium that multi-skilling at the Panchayati level is required. So these aspects should be looked into in the training program. Then Swamitwa convergence may be taken up. So this is only few points. Due to paucity of time, I have mentioned only 5-6 points. So the fonts are very small. Can we enlarge the font? Next slide, please. So another CWEL is another center which is a very big center for us, and it has a large faculty group working in the center, and as we know, the Manrega is the largest government of India scheme. So whatever the now some 17 years have passed for this scheme. So now government doesn't talk about the shortcomings of the scheme. So we are talking about the strength of MG Narega. So MG Narega touches We have seen the MG Narega was the saving grace during the COVID time, and mm, uh, it led to meaningful contribution in infrastructure development of the country. So, Center for Wage Employment and Livelihood needs to realign its training program in line with the training needs of the scheme. So, some of the points I will like to mention here. Jivka programs shall be conducted only if they provide funding. Accordingly, we must do. So, individual requirement of state government shall be taken up on the funding basis. Uh, Only 3 training programs should be conducted on any subject. Because this is the largest scheme, so we know that lot of capacity building is required at the panchayat level. So, but we can't do the repetitive program, and we don't have the capacity also, and it is to do so many number of programs, and it is not conducive also for the academic environment, because we have a precious faculty, and we need to chart a new area and see what are the various deficiency in deficiency, I will say that, what are the strengthening instruments required for better implementation. So our faculty should concentrate on that. And as DG sir pointed out, so let us limit with maximum 3 training programs, and then fix the contours of the training program on national basis, and then such training programs where there is a massive requirement of capacity building, ideally it should be done simultaneously with the 10 SIRDs. So maybe now WebEx and this online system is there. So we must try to devise a scheme of training so that it can be simultaneously carried out by the SIRDs at their end, and SIRDs may be free to put their inputs in the training program so that they can able to address the local needs. Then there is annual action plan. Somehow it was missed in between because of COVID and restructuring of NIRDPR itself. YK Alag committee was there, so somehow now we are apprised of this, and we are planning, and ministry was also asking that annual action plans draft annual action plans shall be sent by NIRDPR to the ministry, and ministry is willing to approve and fund it also. So now under the leadership of DG sir, we will request CWEL to come out with the training programs on annual action plan basis and send it to the ministry for further funding. Then there is another hallmark work of CWEL is time and motion study. So time and motion study is a study done for studying what is the time taken by the unskilled worker in the different agroclimatic zone and different soil. So 3 soils have been hard, semi-hard, and soft soil. So accordingly, the study has been done for all the states, and some 5 states have come out with a notification also, and other studies are either underway or in the stage of finalization. So this TMS is done on the Sequer softwares. The training on TMS and Sequer software shall be conducted on TOT mode. So training of trainers. So this SIRD may be well aware that we do the TOT, so that further the SIRD&PR carries the mandate through the master trainers, and this master trainer state level officials will further carry out the mandate of the training program so that it reaches the last mile. So then CWEL, as the name suggests, wage employment and livelihood. So somehow in between livelihood missed and we mostly concentrated on MG Narega. So now there is urgent requirement for convergence between NRLM and MG Narega. So under the convergence model of both the schemes, further development and animal husbandry needs should be studied. So that as I was saying, now we are talking about the strength of Manrega. So Manrega reaches to all panchayat and it has a great workforce. So whatever Manrega will think, it can do. So now we need to realign that. And wherever the lot of rural asset has been created, whether the rural asset is being used properly or not, and if there is still a gap in rural asset. So as an academic institution with the network of SIRDPR, let us identify what are the gaps in the infrastructure which will increase the livelihood rather than employing unskilled people in building up the assets. We will see what are the missing gaps for the assets for increasing the livelihood. So on that line, animal husbandry and fodder development have been chalked out. Similarly, we must come out what are the market needs for establishing the micro enterprise of NRLM. So we look forward for the guidance of DG and also the ministry to point out what are the gapping holes in the assets. Then Pradhan Mantri Kisai Sichai Yojana 2.0 is a demand-driven program which should be conducted on payment basis. So this CWEL must chalk out a program. Then DOLR watershed programs should be seen. What are their training needs, and accordingly we must contribute to DOLR programs. A pilot on master trainers can be taken up for the Gram Rozgar Sevak, as Secretary Sir was mentioning, that Gram Rozgar Sevak, somewhere around 1.5 lakh strength is there, and people keep on leaving, joining. So we must need to have the induction, refresher training programs, and with a cascading mode, we must address this. So I hope now CWEL has come out with a GRS training program also. So we need to roll out. The capacity building on preparation of RSSR for engineer works under MG Narega should be carried out at middle management level, that is at APD program director and assistant program director. Geo Manrega should be taken up as a strategic program, develop methodology on village infrastructure development plan using NAREX fund as an initiative program, and organize a workshop for that. Emphasis should be laid on what is existing and what is expected in future. So then TOT on the financial management, 2 TOTs on finance work of PFMS and MIS together may be taken up. So what we need is to see that this already MIS are there. So we need to incorporate the MIS findings, MIS reports, data analysis in our training program. So we need to develop that methodology, as Additional Secretary Sir was reflecting on the data of GPDP. So a lot of interesting facts can be taken from there, and we can similarly incorporate in our training programs. Then workshop on watershed development, Aadhaar seeding, socioeconomic caste census data entry into the household can be taken up. Then demand spike in MG Narega due to COVID. So we need to see that what was the factors leading to demand spike, and why it is continuing still. So still like some 300 plus million days are being generated through Manrega. So it should converge to the pre-Manrega days, but somehow it has continued the trend. So we need to study it, that why is it so. Then 2 or 3 workshops on poverty changes due to COVID and coping strategies shall be conducted, and solutions can be suggested to the ministry. Next slide, please. So, there are other centers also. Due to paucity of time, I limited my discussion to these main centers. So, if this is a permit, I will like to say about CRI. So, you will supplement, sir? You will come, sir. So, for Center for Rural Infrastructure, TOTs to SIRDs shall be conducted to disseminate Jal Shakti mission programs. The key resource, we are key resource center for solid and waste management program can be carried out as per the demand raised by the ministry. Training materials shall be standardized. So here there is lot of training demand. So maybe many repetitive program will come. So I will request the concerned center head that in collaboration with the SIRDs, we need to devise a methodology so that we can increase the number of programs, and it is win-win both for NIRD as well as SIRDs to take this training program on funding basis. At least two training for trainers on contracting out wash services to panchayats shall be conducted. So like we are creating huge infrastructure under this, but we need to have a maintenance O&M, operation and maintenance contract, so that our precious water is saved and it doesn't leakage. Then at least two TOTs on orientation of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan institutions shall be conducted, and then the center must focus on rural infrastructure index. So this is all for CRI. Now, sir, I will invite you to add further.
Additional Secretary, Ministry of Panchayati Raj, DDG, Shri Shashi Bhushan ji. We thank you for the patient hearing about the NIRD calendar. The tentative calendar is given in this book, the reference material, which has been included in your bags, in your kit. So we request you to go through the training calendar, tentative training calendar, and give your suggestions, as I was mentioning to you earlier. So on training programs that you think we should be including in this, and training programs which you think are relevant, you're welcome to give both the suggestions. This is an important activity for us, that based on that, the training programs will be rolled out. We don't want to have purposeless or meaningless training programs. We want to have training programs which are useful, which are impactful. So we are having a mix of training programs, workshops. Through workshops, we are trying to increase our thinking capacities, our leading issues, developmental issues, we are trying to bring them to the fore, trying to bring out newer developmental approaches, and on that basis, then conduct the training programs. And as we were mentioning in the morning, SIRDs are our arms, and through that, we stretch across to the states. And we do this through training of training programs for the SIRD faculty. We therefore request once again the SIRD faculty to participate in the training programs diligently and in a forthcoming manner. The number of training programs which have been included in this year's calendar. This year's calendar we try to do more strategically rather than do run-of-the-mill programs. As Mr. Shashi Bhushan, the DDG in charge, was mentioning, that we would not want to keep on continuing the same programs in NIRD on an ongoing basis. We will conduct a few sessions of that, few cycles of that particular training program, and then gradually we'll start involving the SIRDs in delivering that same training program. And as the SIRD faculty become comfortable, then we will step back and SIRD will continue to roll it back. The annual action plan for MG Narega as well as for NRLM RC are important annual action plans for us. They involve a huge number of training programs, and NIRD alone cannot deliver all these training programs. We need the definite support of the SIRDs. So we'd like to request you to participate actively in the delivery of training programs under these annual action plans. And some such things which were mentioned, some leading issues which have now reached maturity, leading developmental work which has reached maturity in NIRD is one relating to time and motion studies under the MG Narega. So most states are about to complete their time and motion studies. Now it is time to take them forward to implementation. First, to make an assessment that proper work has been done. On that basis, the schedule of rates have been prepared for all the MG works effectively by the states. We don't want that there should be over-invoicing, overpricing taking place through the schedule of rates. Once we're convinced that the schedule of rates are good, then have the state government notify those schedule of rates. And once the schedule of rates are notified, we have to train the concerned persons to start using those rates and start making changes required in their budgeting, in their planning, and so on. Because in terms of changes, automatically when schedule of rates comes, it will get fed into the secure software. It will always be available. People have to plan on that basis. But what budgeting changes and other changes they have to make is something that we have to adapt the concerned functionaries to. GRS trainings that the Secretary was also emphasizing important training for a large number of trainees in the country. And for that also we would obviously need support of the SIRDs, because as we were mentioning in the morning, our reach was only up to the district, whereas these GRS are much lower at the panchayat level. So to reach across to them, we need the support of the SIRDs. We request you to collaborate to take this up in an active manner. Another key thing that we were mentioning is wash contracting out. So wash maintenance services is an important area which we discussed in the National Wash Conclave, which concluded recently, that the Government of India is putting in about 3.5 lakh crore rupees in the Jal Jeevan Mission. But all these assets created in the Jal Jeevan Mission will go waste if we do not have proper operation and maintenance facilities through the panchayats. So we have to capacity enable the panchayats to be able to effectively maintain the assets created under the Jal Jeevan Mission. Also, solid waste management, liquid waste management in the country will continue to be problems. On the other hand, we have the self-help groups, large, huge self-help group movement with 8 crore women and 80 lakh SHG groups. These women, these groups can be trained effectively in solid waste management, liquid waste management, and take contracts from the panchayats. So through that we create a win-win both for the panchayat in having effective operation and maintenance management for solid and liquid waste management. At the same time, generating income for the self-help groups. That's what we would like to see happening, and we require support from the SIRDs and ETCs, etc., in making this happen. And as was being mentioned in the morning by the Secretary, and as we were discussing on the sidelines with the Additional Secretary, MOPR, the key issue and demand made on us, at least in NIRD, I'm sure such demands would be made on SIRDs also, how do we reach every elected representative of this country within a period of 5 years? And the numbers are huge. To be able to reach across to them, we need another set of institutions, and we are trying to look at involving the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan kind of institutions. There are about 3,000 of them involving their faculty in training programs, etc. And for that, we are planning to have training of trainers, how to involve the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan to be able to make the last mile connect. So there again, we will need support from the SIRDs. Some of the things which Mr. Shashi Bhushan might have left to say, I will now try to cover. Key thing that we are trying to do in a center here we have called the CETFI, that is the Center for Entrepreneurship Development and Financial Inclusion, is how to look at the convergence of SHGs and FPOs. This is a leading area of work where obviously workshops, etc., will be done, and on that basis training programs will be given. The center has included such programs in the training calendar. You may take a look at them and see how you can benefit from them. Then RCTs is one huge infrastructure which is available with us. There are about 500, 600 RCTs available in the country all over, set up by the banks for developing self-employment opportunities. Now there is no proper linkage between our training setup and the RCTs. Big infrastructure is available. There is need for training the last mile. So if we can utilize the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan institutions, take manpower from them, trainers from there, and utilize this infrastructure in the RCTs, 600 of them spread out all over the country, we'll have enough space and we'll have enough people to conduct trainings up to the last mile. So we'd also therefore like to bring in these RCTs, their infrastructure, faculty not only in encouraging self-employment employment, but also utilizing them for reaching the last mile. So that's where again we look to support from the SIRDs. Another emerging area of work for the Government of India is now got a new Ministry of Cooperation. So looking at how the cooperatives and SHGs converge, this is another area that we are looking to take up work on, and we will look to participation of the SIRDs both in the workshops, thought workshops, and also in the TOTs. In the NRLM sector, we want to focus on micro enterprises in a big way, because what's happened in the NRLM movement is more than one decade, almost 15, 16 years. Focus has been on empowerment of women, on building the social capital of self-help groups. But we've not gone to the next stage of economic empowerment, developing micro enterprises of self-help group women. So the ministry is also now realizing that we need to go to the next stage, and they have plans to develop 24 lakh micro enterprises in this country. This is an area of focus for the ministry, and we're hoping that this Additional Secretary Rural Development will make a presentation, and during this presentation I'm sure this will find a mention. So the next step of movement in NRLM is to move towards the micro enterprises. So that's where we're going to mount a number of programs through the NRLM RC and through our other centers. And we will look to, again, participation of the SIRDs, both in thought workshops as well as in rolling out the programs through training of trainers programs. And we'll also be planning to hold an SRLM conclave, to which perhaps SIRDs also may be invited. Another thing that I wanted to make a mention to you is that NIRD recently entered into an MOU with one of the leading training institutions which leads in management development programs, Administrative Staff College. So in collaboration with Administrative Staff College, we want to revive the practice of delivering a number of management development programs for the project directors of DRDAs, BDOs, and for others. So there again we look to support from the SIRDs to make this happen. Then few other training programs in the area of natural resource management and disaster management also have a lot of importance, and we need the support of the SIRDs. So one of the key things is about the disaster management system in this country. The disaster management system in this country has so far focused on disaster management programs at the national level, developing forces at the national level through the National Disaster Response Force, and at the state level in the form of a state disaster response force. But they are too little too late, in the sense that the disaster response forces at the national level and state level are so far away from the villages, places where the disaster might strike, that it takes a lot of time for these forces to reach and actually help the situation, actually deal with the disaster situation. So a surest way of dealing with disasters is to have people on the site where the disaster would happen, that is in the villages. So we have to develop village disaster response forces. If we don't have a force, village disaster response volunteers, and a village disaster response plan, and that's the surest way of immediately addressing the disasters as and when they strike at the village level. And that we want to take up in a big way, developing the village disaster response plans and getting them implemented to village disaster response volunteers and so on. There again, we're requesting our concerned center to conduct a number of TOTs and other programs, and we request your participation in these. Similarly, under the Social Center of Social Audit is a strong center in NIRD. It is the largest repository of social audit knowledge anywhere in the world. India being the leading social audit conductor in the whole world, and within India, NIRD leads in this practice. So we are planning to conduct an MDP for SAU directors, Social Audit Unit directors, and here again we will request your involvement and participation. We, with the World Bank, did a very major program on sustainable adaptation to livelihood adaptation to climate changes. So how do we adapt livelihoods to climate change situations? This we did for a few states, I think Bihar and some Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, I suppose. So we want to take it to other states also using this model, and there again we'll request your support and cooperation. Another area which is emphasized by the Secretary Rural Development, and that is work in process development, is to climate-proof watersheds developed under MG-NREGA. Climate change is coming, we're in the throes of it. So how do we deal with the climate change issues as far as the watersheds of MG-NREGA is concerned? That involves not only changes, dealing with changes in precipitation, but also the cropping pattern, coming to new cropping patterns and so on and so forth. So that requires a robust crop modeling system, a new way of thinking to deal with the climate change as a whole to make the micro watersheds useful in the future also. So this is work in process and still at the thought stage, and we will be having some workshops, etc. And hopefully we'll graduate to the stage of TOTs during the year, and we'll request your participation in those activities. Then Biodiversity Act is another major act. Biodiversity Act has been implemented in the country notionally, nominally, but panchayats have a major role in implementation of the Biodiversity Act. That role of the panchayats has not been fully realized. That how do we equip the panchayat members to be effectively implement the Biodiversity Act? That is another area of concern for us, and for that we would again be organizing various training programs, training of trainers programs, for taking the Biodiversity Act's implementation to every panchayat of this country. This is some set of things. Then we have another leading center in NIRD called the CGART, which deals with all the satellite mapping, geospatial information systems, and so on. So they are leading various initiatives on watershed management under the PMKSY2 program, developing DPRs, monitoring the implementation of the watersheds, and so on and so forth. There again, there will be opportunities for us to work together with the SIRDs, and we'll request the SIRDs to be partner with us in effectively rolling this out as part of the CGARD's efforts. This year we are moving into substantial amount of work in housing technology, sustainable housing, which has been a little neglected area. NIRD has done some work on reducing the cost of PMGSY, PMAY housing, and to make it more, to make the house construction faster and to develop quality houses. And moving forward in that, we would be having a number of programs under the PM Awas Yojana during this year. And we request you again to partner with us in rolling out those programs. Another important area that I need to mention to you that NIRD inherited because of its merger with CAPART. NIRD merged with CAPART, or CAPART merged with NIRD in May 2020. 2 or 3 lines of work came to us from CAPART, and no other organization in the country really deals with that right now, and NIRD will be dealing with those activities. One is the work of NGO management. No other organization in the country deals with the management of NGOs. Of course, they are detested, loathed, etc. in the country. But they are a strong service delivery pillar all over the world in most developed countries of the world. So how do we revive the NGO sector in this country to make service delivery through NGOs more effective? How do we make their functioning at the same time more accountable? That's the job charter for in that direction. So our Center for Good Governance is doing some work on this, and we also have a Center for CSR, PPP, and PA, as we call it, in public action in Delhi. So they also will be working on it. So we'll be taking up a lot of work on model bylaws for the NGO sector and developing a framework for efficient and accountable delivery of services by the NGOs. Here again, there will be substantial amount of work with the SIRDs on thought leadership workshops and subsequently rolling them out through training of trainer programs. Then we have Center for Center for Equity and Social Development. So they would be taking up work on how the rural development programs are impacting different sections of society, disabled, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs, etc. So there again, some substantial number of workshops and training programs are contemplated to be taken, and we request your support in that. Similarly, the NERC Guwahati, we suggested to them to take up state development plans and strategies for state development in each of the northeastern states. One such state has already approached us, which is the state of Arunachal Pradesh. They want to take holistic development of border villages all along the border areas of Arunachal Pradesh. And we will be working as the knowledge partner for the state of Arunachal Pradesh. And we will have opportunities for working with the SIRD of Arunachal Pradesh in that direction. Likewise, there is an initiative of the Department of Border Management in the Ministry of Home Affairs to take up holistic development of villages in the border areas. So many states with border areas, they would have opportunity to work in this initiative, and we look forward to your support in that direction also. Another center which has now come into the mainstream by virtue of the CAPART merger with NIRD is something called the Appropriate Technologies, Center for Appropriate Technologies. So this work used to be dealt with by CAPART. Now we are figuring out how to deal with this, how to take appropriate technologies to the rural areas. So we are doing a visioning exercise, subsequently followed by some thought leadership workshops, and then roll it on to the training programs. So one such thing is to bring about rural industrialization, which is substantially low. We've been talking about it from Mahatma Gandhi's time. But to this day, we don't have impact for rural industrialization. How can we give this a shot in the arm and develop good number of rural industries in the country is the area of focus here. So there again, we'll have some thought leadership workshops and moving on to training of trainers. So we will request the support of SIRDs in making this happen. Another center is called the Center for Marketing of Rural Products, which is based in Delhi, and that is work we have inherited again from CAPART, marketing of rural products. So we work on in this center in substantially taking the marketing of rural products made by SHGs. So we organize a number of melas called the Saras Melas. That's been an ongoing activity. In each of the Saras Melas, many of you may be aware, may not be aware, we have a number of workshops which are organized. That is for how to sell their products to SHG women, how to package the products, and how to sell them online increasingly through means such as GEM, such as Amazon, such as Flipkart, and so on and so forth. That apart, another area of focus that's coming up, and the minister also has required us to do this, is to see how we can link up these SHG women, they produce with the world markets. How can we find export markets for the SHG women products? So that will be area of focus for us, and there we are trying to bring in a number of these embassies, missions, etc., to tell us how we can enable the export of the products made by the SHG women. That's again another area that we will be working on capacity building. So these are a few areas that I thought I will supplement and mention to you, and believe us that we cannot achieve most of these without your active support, cooperation. And we request your support, cooperation to make this happen and to take country onto an accelerated development path, as is the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister and our mission and our Honorable Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing us the training calendar and supplementing training calendar activities and envisaging the role of SIRD&PRs in taking forward in cascading mode and extending canvas to incorporate the training needs of SIRD&PR. So now moving on to the second part of presentation on review and status of training and research performance 2021 of SIRD&PRs and recurring and non-recurring grants by Dr. M.V. Ravibabu, Associate Professor, Center for Geoinformatic Applications and Rural Development. He would be talking on strengthening of ETCs also in the latter part of the presentation before lunch by forming working groups and extending discussion using lead faculty of NIRDPR like Dr. N.V. Madhuri, Vanishree Joseph, Dr. R. Ramesh Dr. A.K.Bhanja, Dr. C. Kathiresan, Dr. M. Srikanth. This is all the session scheduled before lunch. And I request Ravibabu sir to extend his talk on review and status of training and research performance together with forming of working groups after this session. Over to you, Ravibabu sir.
Okay, can you open working groups? Working group, sheet, PP, word. Word, third one. Yeah. So, good afternoon, everyone. So these are the working groups we made it. The PPT, regarding the training performance which you sent, we supposed to show anyway. You are all already shown. We have had some difficulty when you send the presentations. I mean, your training and research. To avoid that confusion, so we developed a web-based portal for training and research. So maybe next month onwards, next academic year onwards, you can also share that. So that will be demonstrated grading system on web-based and STRMS and SRMS, research-based data and training-based data. So we are going to demonstrate after lunch. So these are the working groups. So these are the states. You can take note, and anyway, I'm also displaying these things. So as per the schedule, these are the lead faculties in your team. So we request here your active participation and giving suggestions in this concern. In Assam, we split it two. We have two additional directors in good, who is the best in the training as well as research, administration. So we split it there. And these groups are evaluating one group of faculty, our professors, Professor Jyotish and Professor Ravindra Gawali, Professor Raju, and our Northeast Director, Professor Murugeshan sir, is going to chair that session. And all these four, they are going to evaluate and how best you are going to attempt the question answers as well as your formulation when you are giving the presentation tomorrow in the post-lunch section 2:30. So whoever is going to be the best group, so we want to give it to them as a best group award as well as the token of appreciation also in that group as well as with the jury of the panel. And yeah, so afternoon we will go to the ATR points discussion and followed by the presentation, a demo of the SIRD grading system as well as the research and training. And we have another presentation, Dr. A.K.Bhanja sir and his team, Dilip Kumar sir. They are going to present into the 100 plus clusters. So after that we have a group discussion. We scheduled in the 4 halls here, one group here and another group in the SK Rao and conference hall 4 and nearby and 5. So one more we will shift to the SEGARD conference hall. So these 4 we can discuss, and evening we planned as a meditation by the retired IAS officer, retired DG of NIC, CSR Prabhu. He is going to come here and sharing his meditation practice also in the hall. So we request to join by, you can refresh and come back by 6:30 or 6 also we can schedule as per your wish. So we want to continue as a 6 because he is available from 5:30. So as you quickly complete your group discussion, then 6 o'clock will start, 6 to 6:30, 7 o'clock. Okay. Yeah. So regarding what project, the training performance, anyway, you already sent to us. So due to the data disturbancy also, there are a lot of like data problems are there. So to avoid that, this tools is going to utilize for us. But timely, many SIRDs are sharing, and few SIDs, they are unable to share those data in every month. So I request all these to fulfill the data set. So analysis purpose and theme-based mapping purpose, it is easy. And the same portals are more or less we are following in the NIRD. So tomorrow somebody want to do analysis, you can also download the data in the structured format. Ministry also they can download. You no need to type and send those information. So that makes very easy for you people. Anyway, we'll demonstrate it tomorrow. Okay, so that's all for today. I mean, after we'll go for the lunch. And tomorrow, I just want to give you, so those from 7 o'clock, we have a walk to the RTP viewpoint along with our DG, DDG and other all faculty colleagues who is staying in the campus, and outside also many people will join. We'll go to the NIRD viewpoint, we'll spend some time over there, and we'll come back quickly to the campus, and we'll do our next activities. So tea will be served over there. So these two instructions I just want to say, I mean, share with you. Okay. Yeah, so these groups, please note down. And if you have a two faculty, if you want in the same group also fine, or you can join in any other group. You want to give the more suggestions to the any other groups also, it is fine. And I request SLOs also, please join with that groups. Okay, any interested faculty also, please join in that group, and you can give your suggestions. Okay, so I will. Maharashtra, sir? You have a two people, sir? Okay. Then which group you want to contribute, sir? More like for both. Fine, fine, sir. So you can spend some time in the group 3 and group 4 also. Thank you for your support, sir. Thank you. So we'll go for the lunch break, and we'll come back by 2:30. Yeah, thank you so much. Did you see, sir? Huh? Okay. Tripura is okay. We can add into the